Current merit pay programs are failing employers and their employees, according to David Tyson, president of a Toronto-based compensation and benefits consulting firm. HR Reporter TV met up with David to talk about how these programs can change to produce better results. What's the problem with merit pay?
There was some recent research that I read about a year or so ago. It was published in Workspan in March 2009, which did some research in what they called the smallest meaningful pay increase. In other words, how big does a pay increase have to be to actually get the employees' notice and motivate them? Okay? And they did this particular report was a composite of 11 different studies, and they found that the pay increase had to be between 6 and 8% of base pay to get the employees' attention. And that's what I'd always sort of suspected. And when you look at the existing pay practices, sort of the average increase these days is around 2.83%. And one survey showed that the average performer was getting, I think it was 2.45%, and the superior performer was getting 5%. So if the research is right, those so-called merit pay programs just don't work, you know? And that's the first time that there's been some good solid research published. It's been talked about for years, but there's never much really solid research done.
What would you suggest as an alternative to the traditional merit pay program?
Changing the date of the increase. Most companies use a common date of the salary increases, usually January 1st. The theory being that it's administratively easier. Okay? I maintain if you use the employee's anniversary date, it makes it more meaningful to the employee and improves the line of sight because the increase comes at a date where it's closer to their performance, the end of their personal year. So you use the date they started in the job or the date they got their last increase. Okay, now, the traditional argument was that that was not administratively possible.
Right, like
it was
too much work?
Too much work, yeah. Okay. I don't buy that, but even if it's right, so what? Why would we design a system to motivate employees and make it administratively easier for HR and finance and not design it so it motivates employees? You know.
Are there any other changes that a company can make?
Another possibility is to change the number of levels in the performance rating system. This is kind of a complicated argument, but most companies use an odd number of levels, 3, 5, 7. Okay? A much smaller percentage use an odd number, 4, 6, 8. Okay? 5 is probably the most common. Okay? If you look at the persons that are rated 3, they're the satisfactory employees. Okay? They're probably 65, 70% of the employee population normally. And you're not going to move many 3s to 4s. You're not going to move 4s to 5s. Certainly not going to move 1s to 3s. 1s will be moved out, either voluntarily or otherwise. Some 2s might move to 3. But the biggest potential for organizational improvement is if you divide the satisfactory level people into 2 groups, Group A, which is the low 3s, and Group B is the high 3s. The biggest potential for organizational improvement is to move the low 3s to the high 3s. Okay? With a 5-point scale, you can't do that. First of all, they don't know they're low 3s, and you have nothing to reward them with if they do move up.
Right.
So if you switch to a 1 to 4 scale, you can say to the 2s, who are satisfactory, the 2s and 3s are satisfactory, you know, you have a chance to move to be a 3, and we can reward you with it to do that.
What would you say to a company who would argue that making the change would be too difficult?
I say, what's the alternative? Continue to throw money at a failed program that's not working, not doing what you expect it to do? I mean, the company spend an enormous amount of human resource time and managers' time in doing performance appraisals and administering the merit pay system. A huge amount of time on it. And I don't think they're getting anywhere close to the results they should for the money spent, for the time and effort spent. I think the time spent to fix it would be well worthwhile.